First Watch with Sheriff Mark Daniels on KWCD Bisbee Sierra Vista. Hosted by Public Information Officers Carol Kappas and Grady Butler. First Watch is brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative.
And welcome to your Friday. I'm Grady Butler. With me is Carol Kappas and Sheriff Mark Daniels. Good morning.
Good morning, Cochise County.
Hello, everyone.
So let's start with some sports action. You were just saying that you had some sports news to deliver.
I was giving Carol some positive news.
Yes.
Even though U of A's home watching the College World Series from Tucson, Arizona, the reality is both teams that made the championship, LSU and I think it's Coastal Carolina, actually were in the championship. That's who U of A lost to.
Yeah, see?
Both times.
See?
So there's a very rational positive for U of A. So I want to give the Wildcats another shout out for that, because that's pretty good. You know, by the way, LSU won it. They won the overall, the Tigers there. But again, U of A, that's a positive thing.
See, and guess who was on Fort Huachuca yesterday? The Gronk.
The Gronk, yes.
And you were there, and you didn't even shake his hand.
I know. I didn't even see him. I mean, so many people.
You didn't see Gronkowski?
I know. Well, I can't see above people, so think about that. I'm not very big, so there's my defense. But I feel kind of bad about that, you know. But by the time I got there, unbeknownst he was there, I mean, there are so many people running around doing things, and you get talking, you know how it is, and then you don't get to span the crowd. So, yeah, he's a good guy. And
he is.
He went to U of A, and for those that were... we're talking about played for the New England Patriots with Tom Brady for all those years, and then he went somewhere else, didn't he? He went before he retired. I want to say did he go to Tampa Bay? He went to Tampa Bay with Tom Brady, but yeah, I've seen him in some interviews. He's just a good guy and just a really down to earth guy, and they tease him a lot. Do you ever see when they tease him?
Yes.
Because he's bumped his head too many times. But he's a really good guy. I commend him, and I wish I got a chance to meet him. I definitely would like that.
And why were you on Fort Huachuca yesterday?
So we were on Fort Huachuca for the change of command. So for EPG, and for those Electronic Proving Ground, EPG is also the company that I was assigned to back in 83, 84 while I was in the military as a young soldier. But they had to change the command, so Colonel Rob Barnhill is retiring after 32 years. He was the commander, the colonel up there that ran operations for the last 4 years. And then Colonel David Taylor was welcomed in during the change of command and taken over EPG. So, again, really nice ceremony. Always love to see B Troop when they storm the field, the brown traditional brown parade field. But, again, good luck to Rob, him and his family after 32 years. I was impressed with him. And people that work up there in Post will know what I'm talking about. But just a down-to-earth guy throwing jokes out there. And, I mean, just really, 32 years? I think he said he was going to go back. He bought 82 acres up on the coast up in Oregon, and he's heading up there with his family. And they're up there to retire and have some fun. So I wish him the best of luck, and thanks for his service to this nation.
And you've been busy also this week. You were actually at the National Sheriff's Association Border Security meeting in Florida. And all kinds of good things happen there.
Yeah, we went down to Fort Lauderdale. I've never been there before. Went down there for the annual National Sheriff Association, and my annual border meeting, summer meeting was there, and that was on Sunday. And we did. The Sheriff's Alliance is made up of the 4 Sheriff's Associations, National, Western, Southwest Border, and Major County, came together to discuss issues in public safety. Then we met with some of the leadership from Washington, D.C. Tom Homan was there. The Attorney General from Florida was there, all the way through. Just a great meeting as we discuss how we engage and how we address public safety issues throughout the United States. It affects all sheriffs, all law enforcement, all communities. But I got to say, I asked the Florida Highway Patrol leadership, which we've done a lot of programs with, operations with. They called me earlier in the week and said, "Sheriff, can we come to the meeting?" Of course you can come to the meeting. It's in your state. And they said, "Well, if you need anything, Sheriff, let us know. We'll see you on Sunday." I said, "I do need something. Can you give me a ride from the airport over to the convention center?" So this trooper picks me up. And you all know I got to give a little troop. I got to poke my troopers. So all the troopers out there this morning listen to this going, "Oh, here we go." So this trooper picked me up. And so we get in the car, and it's an unmarked black Dodge Charger. And he's an older guy, older than me. I just want to make that note. And so we get the suitcase in and stuff. And we get in the seat, and I go, "Hey, nice car." And he goes, "Sheriff, I was going to say," he goes, "I hear you're kind of a wise guy." Because I always give troopers crap. And so it's a national known fact that I'm going to give a trooper crap. And I said, "That's true." He goes, "But I'm a real cop." I retired from another agency. Now I'm part of the executive team for Florida Highway Patrol. I said, do you actually think that you're sitting in this car wearing a trooper outfit with a sheriff that you're not going to get some crap? You are so wrong. Here we go. Let the game begin. So, great guy. Thanks, Dave. I know you're not listening to the show, but thank you for the ride. We had a good time. And but then he said, hey, the traffic's going to be really rough downtown. I said, why is it rough? Because the Panthers won. And I go, I'm thinking Carolina Panthers, right? We're not in a zoo, so it has to be the Carolina Panthers. And I said, Carolina Panthers? I'm missing something totally. It's like, where am I at? He goes, Sheriff, it's a hockey team. You should know that. I go, why would the hottest state in the country have a hockey team that wins the...
Where do they practice?
Yes, what do they do? Go to Circle K and get some ice from them down? I don't know. But either way. But they won it. It was a madhouse down there. I mean, you talk about hockey lovers in Florida. They're everywhere. And so, but we had a good time, good meetings, very productive, and we're all working together, state, local, and federal. So it's nice to see that. That's how we protect our communities.
And you also have an appointment on a national level.
I do. It was announced this week that I was appointed to the Homeland Security Advisory Council by the President and Secretary of Homeland Security. I'm honored to serve. I was also, the Florida Sheriff's Association, represent 3,081 sheriffs, actually voted to support me for that position too. So it's an honor that your colleagues supported you, but it's an honor to go back and share the voice of public safety. I'm the only law enforcement. The White House was very clear on that. Sheriff, you're the only law enforcement on it. But to share the public safety optics to the White House. And I'm going to be mean, but they sit in a different level when it comes to community and public safety. So be able to carry that message, carry the engagement thoughts, the operational thoughts, the challenges that we deal with every day, and be part of that, I'm very excited to do again. And so that kicks off next week. So next Friday we do our show. I'll have a bunch of updates of what's going on.
And also while you're in Florida, something amazing happened for a little boy. So DJ was there. He got sworn in by over 1,300 sheriffs.
Yes.
And you have some pictures we're going to be posting. So isn't that all kinds of amazing?
It truly is. This is a little boy that had a medical issue, cancer, was not doing well. You saw him during the State of the Union where he was recognized on the floor back in January by the president. So we actually invited him to our sheriff's conference, and over 1,300 sheriffs agreed, to include myself, to swear him in. So he's sworn in by 1,300 sheriffs. That's a record, number one. I've never heard this happen before. I got my Western State sheriffs, as president of Western States, to jump on that too. And so again, all of us came together for this little boy. And you'll see the pictures on our social media, our Facebook, and you'll see just this happy kid that's gone through so much, so undeserved treatment by cancer and the evil that's out there. But this little boy was cherishing this moment. It was so neat. So again, you'll love the pictures.
Also, Governor Hobbs was in our area yesterday.
She was. She stopped by to check and see if we at Public Safety, the mayor of Sierra Vista, the police chief from Sierra Vista, my team and I sat with her and her team and talked about. And one thing that we put as a priority, and I'll share it with the public, that I asked for was, we have a public safety grant the sheriff's office does for a care team, which is a mental health first responder team. They're not cops. They don't wear cop uniforms. They don't wear law enforcement insignia. They actually go out there for early intervention, helping the community members free of charge, helping law enforcement, firefighters, whatever it may be. That grant's got less than a year on it. That's a local grant thanks to the Legacy Foundation, but we need to keep that program going. I've already talked to the state about joining on a couple of different grants that already pushed this. So we emphasize, Police Chief Heiser and I, that and our teams, that we really want to see that continue. So that was noted. We're going to keep on that one. I feel very confident. I really do that. We're going to continue that into the future, because if we can get in there early, whether it be a law enforcement officer, firefighter, or anybody that works public safety, EMS, or law enforcement officer that saw too much ugly and just needs a little time out, we have that team for them.
And you also were a guest speaker and doing a presentation for the Huachuca City Lions Club.
Yes, I've been down there for events, but I never had the opportunity to speak to them. And it was a nice crowd that showed up for the Lions Club, and I spoke to them. They had me speak before the meal. Never do that. I'm just going to throw that. People are hungry. They lose you after the second gurgle in the stomach. Hey, I got to eat. So, but either way, it was a great event. Thanks to Huachuca City, their community, their leadership. Chief Wyatt was there, and Suzanne, the city manager, and a bunch of other folks came down, and just it was nice to engage with them, hear what they have, what's going on down there, hear what we're addressing, and because that's a partner. All the folks we talk to in the county, they're partners, and so it was a nice event.
And law enforcement partnerships are very important too, and we had leadership from the Tucson Sector Border Patrol.
Right. So the leadership from Border Patrol was down this week too, and came in, and these are new folks that came in that they transition every few years. So with everything going on at the federal government, so they came down, looked at our operation, and that's how we share it. We add, we delete, we work side by side to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the people we serve. And so it was a nice visit by them, and I appreciate them. I know Sean, the chief up there, came out of the Yuma sector, super good guy. He's a cop's cop. I liked him when he worked in Yuma. We worked a lot of stuff on that side, worked with the sheriff over there, and so we're very fortunate to have him leading the charge here in the Tucson sector.
And we've had a couple of things come up. Really a sad one was an unfortunate accident that claimed 2 lives. And, one of the victims was only 17 years old. She just graduated. Well, she just got out of her junior year, was ready to go into her senior year, worked at Popeye's Chicken. From everything that I've been able to look at, she's just an amazing young woman, and unfortunately her life was cut short. Too short.
It's senseless. Let me just say, I went through the intersection. My team was out there. My accident team actually was doing that investigation up there on 90. The pre-information, and again, I haven't read the factual, but what I'm being told is this motorcycle was going the wrong way on 90, going northbound in the southbound lane when he encountered this teenager going south, and you could have seen the car up at the scene. It was horrific. It burned up. This whole situation and is so senseless. Border Patrol had reported him at excessive speed coming through by their checkpoint. They alerted us, the sheriff's office, and Benson PD. It was 2:30 in the morning, and sadly, he crashed before we got a chance to get to him. But again, my heart goes out to all these family members involved in this that are emotionally just trying to address this. And but again, that's why if you see something, say something, call us. We just couldn't get there in time in this one, so it's sad.
And there was also a bear sighting.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's a bear cub. So somebody said that maybe the mama bear was in the tree, not quite sure. But, and then we had some other comments wanting to know, why are we, highlighting this? What is the issue? Well, we don't want anybody to hurt these animals. We just really want to encourage people to have situational awareness, because if it is a baby bear and you get near it and the mama bear is not up the tree, she could be right up something else before you know it. So you just have to be careful because of the drought. Wild animals are coming down from the mountains, and it's something that we have to live with. And please, please, please be careful and make sure that you do your best to avoid any confrontation, so it is safer for the animal and for you.
And you see some of the posts on social media. We put stuff out there, and based on awareness, based on knowledge, based on transparency, which equals prevention. In this case, it's prevention. Be aware when you're up there hiking. And a lot of people visit our mountains. They go up there, they hike, and it's cool up there. But just be aware of what we're seeing. We want to make sure we share that with you. And but it's funny how you read comments. People just throw daggers for personally all the wrong reasons. It's like, listen, we can say nothing, and somebody gets hurt. I'm going to feel bad about that. So we're going to put that stuff out there, and for all the right intent. It's not ill will. It's not saying go get the animal. It's just, we want you to know the animals are coming out of the mountains looking for water.
And there's red flag warnings too. That's people need to pay attention to that.
Trees are the best indicator of dryness and drought. Look at the oaks. Look at a lot of the mesquites. A lot of them have not fully bloomed because they're conserving their moisture. And I'm no expert of trees. I don't say, well, the sheriff's an expert of trees. No, he's not. But I can tell you enough that these trees are holding back every ounce of water right now. We need water bad. In fact, we had some traces of it. I felt something fall from the sky. I was running under a tree, and I realized it was rain. But bottom line is this. We need water so bad. I just hope it kicks in soon.
Yeah, it definitely needs to. And monsoon should be coming in the next week or two. Hopefully everybody is prepared, because we have so many components of public safety going out there, to include, you see fireworks stands selling fireworks.
Yes.
You have to be careful, and the legalities we're going to talk about next week before 4th of July, or on 4th of July, to make sure people understand, what you can and cannot do, because it just takes one spark, and then you're done for.
And reckless behavior with anything. Just because you bought it doesn't mean you can be reckless with it.
That's
and
right.
I know people are celebrating. They're not thinking that way, but we'll talk again next Friday, more cautious and more thoughts and the legalities of it and stuff. But you're responsible for what comes out of your hand. You're responsible for what you light. And that's so important here, especially as we go into the season. And it's so dry. We haven't had this dry in a long time. I can't recall when it's been this dry. In Florida, there's water everywhere. I mean, it rained. There's water everywhere. I mean, wow. And then you come here and it's like, can we get a balance of this somewhere? Just a balance. Yeah, we need water.
And Fort Huachuca has even closed down some of the canyons due to fire hazards.
I saw that too, and
Yeah.
rightfully so. I mean, it is so dry. It'd go up so fast.
And one of the things that we're going to be working on, when we have any situation where we have to have a major response or to augment other activities that are going on within the county, we have our Amateur Radio Association people that work closely with the Sheriff's Office, and they actually have something going tomorrow, which is their Races Day. So it's the Amateur Radio Association Day that's going to be kicking off tomorrow at 11 o'clock in Veterans Memorial Park. If you haven't seen what they do, it's pretty interesting, and you can go out there and have a good time and learn a little bit about radios and how they're used and what's going on.
Well, I'm telling you, these are all volunteers that come out there. They put their effort. They love the passion of the radio. I've been out there before in the past, and I plan on going out there Saturday, pending the unexpected. I always say that because in my world, you never know where you're going to be. But they do a great job, and thanks you all our communicators out there that do this.
And so what is your stop of the week this week?
Stop of the week. We need and this is what I want to share with folks. What is a public roadway? What is, number one, if you're looking for a green sign or a state highway, that's all pretty relevant, or pretty obvious. And I don't want to use that word in a negative way. But what is the legal description of a roadway? It's from fence line to fence line, right away to right away. And people think, well, once you get off the pavement, maybe a couple of feet, then all that stuff on the right and all that stuff on the left is not roadway. Yes, that's all included in a public infrastructure called a public roadway. That led into my stop of the week. Guy came across a highway, definitely on a highway, on a dirt bike, took off down the side of the road, and I stopped him. And he told me, he goes, I can be out here. This is not part of the roadway. I'm not up on the pavement. So I shared with him what I'm sharing with the viewers this morning, and the fact that it is part of the roadway. If you're going to be in that right-of-way fence area, look for the fence on both sides. In most cases, those fences are to keep the animals off the roadway, and also identifies the public aspect, the infrastructure of it. If you're on there with a vehicle that's not licensed or without a driver's license or whatever the case may be, you are subject to enforcement. And I want to make sure if you have an accident, you are part of a right-of-way. And let me just throw this up too on this. Is people say, where can I drink and drive? The law is very clear on that, Grady. It says anywhere in the state. So what that means, simply put, if you're in your backyard and you're drunk on your quad, or you're on your 40 acres, you're on a quad, but you're drunk and you crash and then get injured, and we find that out, you will be charged for DUI. And people say, that's an overreach. Folks, that's the law. We don't make laws. Law enforcement doesn't make them. But the law is very clear. If you're at the Walmart parking lot, well, I'm in the parking lot, you can't touch me. There's 2 criminal violations for traffic codes that say, one is reckless driving. So if you're driving reckless anywhere within state, you can be charged, to include your own property. Or if you're impaired to the slightest degree, which is a standard approved for DUI. Slightest degree of impairment, anywhere in the state, you can be charged. So I want to make sure those are 2 disclaimers because we're coming up on the 249th birthday of our nation. So as we get ready to celebrate for all the right reasons, we live in the greatest country in the world. So as we get ready to celebrate, and no matter what your thoughts are about your politics, all that, we live in a beautiful place in this country. We have our freedoms, our liberties, the right to speak when we want to speak, the right to be on this radio show. The bottom line is we just want to make sure that we're doing it within the law. And that's that celebration I'm talking about. And that is, don't drink and drive, and be safe.
Well, Sheriff Mark Daniels, we thank you for coming and talking to us today.
Grady, Carol, thank you. We'll talk next week. Take care,
First
everyone.
Watch on KWCD Country is brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative.
Giving you an inside look to your sheriff's office. Let's go back to First Watch on KWCD.
And it's brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative. I'm Grady Butler, and our next guest is Curtis from the Tombstone Courthouse Museum. Good morning.
Good morning, Grady. How are you doing?
Doing well. So we're going to talk about the museum in just a bit, but first tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Curtis Leslie. I'm the park manager for Tombstone Courthouse State Historic Park. And so we are a historic state park, and we're actually Arizona's second state park. And we became a state park in 1959.
That's pretty cool. So the courthouse is the actual courthouse that was used in Tombstone, all the history you've heard about, and tell us how it became a state park.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, so the courthouse exists because Cochise County was formed in 1881 because Cochise County used to be part of Pima County, so it was one large county. But with the advent of silver and Tombstone becoming a boom town, about 1877 really started to spike. About 1879 went from nothing to about 10 to 15,000 people. So they, laws were getting broken, as well known, and so they needed, their own representation, and so Cochise County was formed. So they needed a courthouse. But until our courthouse was built, they were just using temporary offices as courthouses until that, or courtrooms. And so our courthouse began being built in August 1882. Only took about 6 months, and it was ready and open by January of 1883. And so, we became Cochise County's first official courthouse, active from 1882 until 1931. The county seat changed from Tombstone to Bisbee, technically in 1929, but they didn't have that courthouse ready until 1931, so we were still open until that time.
So Sheriff Behan was the first sheriff of Cochise County, and he actually worked out of that courthouse.
Briefly, yes, because even before they were finished building it, they were already using it in the fall of 1882. So, and then they finished it, like I said, in January. So, yeah, Behan briefly worked out of that.
And so, give us the time frame around the shootout at the OK Corral.
So, OK Corral shootout happened October 1881. So, people often think, was Wyatt and Doc tried, or it was actually preliminary hearing in our courthouse. And unfortunately, no, it did not happen at our courthouse. So that is a misnomer. They just had a temporary court they used in the old GIRD block, G-I-R-D, GIRD block, and unfortunately now it's just a parking lot near Shefflin Hall. And so that's where like the Tombstone Epitaph and other offices were. So they're just using a temporary court until they could get ours built. And so that one didn't occur. Wyatt and Doc were really out of Tombstone by March of 1882, and they didn't start building us until August of 1882.
Okay, good. That's good context for the date of when it started. Well, let's talk about what's inside the museum at this point. So we've got Tombstone history, and it's all right there.
Yeah, it is. The best way to describe us is we are an Old West museum. And so inside is really about the history of the town, the county, and the court itself. And so we have everything from courtroom upstairs, including originals, judge's bench, and prisoner's dock. Obviously, we have replica gallows outside because there were, as we were talking earlier, about 7 people were hung at that location. You would have thought in an Old West town like that it would have been more, but only a total of 7 were hung, and there are replica gallows, which a lot of folks come and see. And we have an entertainment room, so we have a lot of stuff from the entertainment, from old pianos to an old bar, from one of the old bars in town. Everything from the old sheriff's office is in there because we were the county hub, and so we had the treasury office, and we still have original vaults inside there. We have mining displays because obviously Tombstone was a silver town, so we have displays about Ed Shefflin, who's considered the founder of Tombstone, and he's the one who found a decent amount of silver in town, made his money, and left pretty early, but he is actually, after he passed away in 1897, they did bury him back in Tombstone, and so there's actually a monument to him that's also part of our state park about 2 miles away from our building itself.
Well, let's talk about the state park of it. So you guys are open a certain amount of hours, and it costs a certain amount to get in. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So our summer hours we're open from 9 to 3. We currently don't have air conditioning, so it does get hot in that old building. And so during the summer, which we start June 1st until the end of September, we're open 9 to 3 every day. Our fees are $10 for those 14 and over. 7 to 13 are $5, and under 7 are free. And then during the winter, we're open from 9 to 4:30 during the rest of the year. And the only day we're closed is Christmas. So we're actually open every day, including Thanksgiving. And yeah, so we're Arizona's second state park, as I mentioned. And we became a state park really at some point after 1931. The county, we talked about the court moving to Bisbee. And so they tried to make our building a sanitarium. That didn't happen. They had some immigration trials at our building. It was being used for that. And then somebody tried to make the building a hotel. And so they began making it a hotel. They even tried to add a third floor to the building. So they were splitting the second story to make it a second and third story. Never finished that, and then the building became abandoned at that point. And, it's starting to get in disrepair, broken windows. You see old photos of it. So the Tombstone Restoration Commission, which was formed about 1949, they tried to start saving a lot of these old buildings in Tombstone. Tourism was becoming a thing for them. Edna Landon became the president of the Tombstone Restoration Commission, and she helped save our courthouse. And so initially it was Tombstone Restoration Commission, which was funding the building. They used to raise money by becoming honorary marshals in town, selling small plots of land, anything they could do to save the building. So hats off to the Restoration Commission, which still exists. And and then they wanted to continue to protect the building, so they made an agreement, and at the time it was their Arizona State Parks Board, and so they turned it over to Arizona State Parks, and we became Arizona's second state park in 1959. The first is Tubac, by the way, Tubac State Park, which is also another great state park. And
that's really neat. So, and I understand right now there is some construction going on that you guys are working around.
Yeah, so I mentioned it's like building does get hot because there's no air conditioning. Well, we do have a grant, and we're adding HVAC and air conditioning now, which is a big deal for us because that building gets to over 90 degrees, and so we want it to be comfortable, for the public, for us obviously too. And so we're currently under adding HVAC, electrical upgrades. They're not going to finish this year, but by next summer we should be up and running with that. So it's a pretty big deal for us, but putting HVAC in an old building like that is difficult because you don't want to do damage to the building, so they're coming with different ways in order to really cool us down.
Well, we appreciate you coming and talking today. And before you leave, I'd like to, invite everybody to go visit the museum because it's amazing. But how else can they find information about you or help you out or just put out anything you would like to, web addresses, Facebook, whatever?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me, by the way. And so if you go to ArizonaStateParks.com, we have a link there for the Tombstone Courthouse State Historic Park. We're also on Facebook. We have a lot of nice social media things on our Facebook, Instagram, and then our number is 520-457-3311. But yeah, just go, you contact us either on Facebook, call us, or you can go to our website, which is connected to ArizonaStateParks.com.
And also, before you leave, I have to remind everybody to go look on the Sheriff's Facebook page. We made a video a while back, and you guys were very instrumental in that, the history of the Cochise County Sheriff's Office. It's on YouTube or on the Sheriff's Facebook page, and we do a lot of stuff inside the Courthouse Museum because of you guys, so thank you for helping us with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's a nice display of all the former sheriffs during the time we were open from 1882 through 1931 about the former sheriffs who were working in that office at that time, in that building. So, yeah, definitely come see that display also.
Excellent. Well, thank you for coming and talking to us today, Curtis.
Yeah, no problem.
First Watch on KWCD Country is brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative.
Giving you an inside look to your sheriff's office. Let's go back to First Watch on KWCD.
And it's brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative. I'm Grady Butler, and our next guest is Abby from CASA. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Abby.
Well, my name is Abby Dodge. I am the CASA and ADR Division Director at the Superior Court here in Cochise County. So I manage both the Court-Appointed Special Advocate Program, or CASA, and the Alternative Dispute Resolution Program. They're both volunteer-driven programs within our courts.
Well, let's talk about CASA. What is that?
Well, CASA, like I said, is the Court-Appointed Special Advocate Program. We work with kids that have been removed from their home due to allegations of abuse or neglect. So volunteers are assigned to work with certain kids get to know them, get to know their family, get to know their current living situation, their school, everything about them. They're essentially the eyes and ears of our judges who can't go out and get that information themselves. So they get to know the child, they spend time with them, they do fun things, they do difficult things, whatever that child needs. And then they come back and they report to the court how the child is doing, where they're at, how the family is doing overall, what the child needs to thrive, and what they think should happen for the future.
And you had a reunification day. What is that?
So we had our second annual reunification day for the court yesterday. It's not a public event because we're focusing on celebrating those families that have come through this child welfare system and reunified. So the children have been removed from the home and the parents have done that really hard work to make the changes that they needed to make to get their children back into their home and be successful as a family unit again. So yesterday we did have 2 families that came to join us and play games with their kids and interact with some community organizations that can continue to support them going forward. We had pizza, we had cupcakes. It was a good time. It's hard to get families to want to come back because it's a traumatizing event for them to go through the system, but we do try to make it known that that's our ultimate goal in the court with the dependency, is to reunify families. It may not always seem like that from an outside perspective, but that is our primary goal, and we do want to recognize the efforts that both parents, children, I guess not both, but all of the parties do to help these families get back together.
And you said that CASAs are volunteers, so they're very vetted. So tell us about that process a little bit.
Yeah, so they do have a very extensive background check. One of the oddities is that we require our volunteers to undergo a polygraph examination, which I don't know of any other volunteer organization that requires that level of background. But we do a personal interview, we do a fingerprint check with DPS and the FBI, we do the polygraph examination, we do reference checks, and we continue to have conversations with them along the way through the training and everything else, just to see if there's any red flags or anything that we think might come up, or if they've undergone trauma themselves, because we don't want this volunteer experience to further affect them as an individual.
So we're going to talk about how people can volunteer for this, but let's talk about kind of what a volunteer does. I know you touched on it a little bit, but what do they do when they actually get involved?
So what a volunteer does is they kind of become, it's like being a friend or a mentor to the child, but it goes so much further than that because of that advocacy portion. So it really depends on what age group the individual is working with, but they would get to know the child, get to know what they like, maybe help them get involved in sports or an extracurricular activity, see how they're doing in school, help find resources for them if they need tutoring or if they need additional clothing or whatever it is that they might need. They can be supportive of the biological family as well and help them kind of navigate through the system a little bit. They're there for the child, but if the child is hoping to go home and wanting to go home, then they're ultimately trying to help the whole family through the process as well. They attend meetings on behalf of the child. They can attend meetings with the Department of Child Safety, with the schools, with behavioral health, whoever needs to talk about the child and their services. They attend court. They actually write court reports that become part of the formal court record, which is a daunting aspect of it, but we provide plenty of training and help along the way.
And I've heard some great success stories about how sometimes a CASA volunteer will stay in somebody's life even into their adulthood and beyond, because they become part of this person's journey. So kind of give us maybe a success story that you've heard.
Sure. So one of our most incredible CASA, she's been a CASA for it will be 25 years in September. She's worked with 67 youth, I believe is what her total is as of the moment. But she's one of those individuals where she tells the child straight up, she primarily worked with teenagers, she tells them straight up that she's not giving up on them. She can't come off of the case, so even if they don't like her, they're going to have to find a way to work together. And that usually helps them come around. And she's been there with some of her youth that are now have children of their own, and she gets invited to their kids' graduations, things like that. So she'll randomly tell me stories of, oh, this person called me, and I wasn't with the program long enough to know who that person was, but just listening to her talk about that relationship that she built with that then teenager, now parent themselves, and the help she's provided along the way, and just the fact that they still seek her out to share success with her, it's a really heartwarming experience.
How does someone become a CASA volunteer?
So it all starts with that application, which can be found on our website at www.casaofcochiscounty.org. There's an Apply Now link on the left-hand side, and it just walks you through the process. And then from there, either myself or my other coordinator will reach out and set up an interview, and we go from there.
If there's somebody who doesn't want to volunteer in that capacity, is there still ways the community can help?
Yeah, there's always ways the community can help with things like this. If you know of a speaking opportunity for one of us from CASA to come to, either at your church, at your service organization, anywhere that we can come and present on our organization and our need for volunteers. If you just have a little bit extra tax money that you want to offset next time you file your taxes, we have a sister organization, our Cochise County Council for CASA. They're a 501c3. They're on the Arizona Department of Revenue's Qualified Foster Care Charitable Organization list. So that really helps with that. They have money available for our kids that are in care for anything that they need to help them achieve some normalcy while they work through the system.
So now I'll give you an opportunity to put out any contact information you like, webpage, Facebook, phone numbers. It's all about you.
All right. So like I did say, our website is www.casaofcochiscounty.org. We are also on Facebook, CASA of Arizona, our big kind of umbrella organization for the state. They're very active on Facebook, Instagram, any other social media. Or our phone number is 520-432-7521.
Well, Abby, we thank you for coming and talking to us today, and thank you for everything that you do in our community.
And thank you so much for having me.
First Watch on KWCD Country is brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative.
Giving you an inside look to your sheriff's office. Let's go back to First Watch on KWCD.
And it's brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative. I'm Grady Butler, and with me in the studio is Scott Borgstadt from the Sierra Vista Police Department. Good morning.
Good morning, Grady. How are you?
I'm doing great. So we're going to talk about a parking situation that you've highlighted on your Facebook, but you want to get back out to the public.
Yeah, this is over Sears Center Park area. There's a lot of soccer fields over there. Attracts a lot of attention during the week, with people going over there, with their kids to play soccer on the weekends type stuff. But the city did a study and discovered that there were some safety concerns in that area. So they have posted no parking on Sears Center Drive on the north side of that drive. Now, Sears Center runs east and west, but on the north side of that, it's been posted no parking. The curb's painted red, so it's a fire lane type thing. And the reason being is when people park there and on the south side of that road, there's literally no room for fire apparatus to get down there in an emergency. That's not good. Okay, if the fire department needs to get through there, they have to have a clear path. Also, part of the reason is, safety for the kids. They're excited for playing soccer, running around, having a good time, and if cars are parked there, we don't want kids darting between cars onto the roadway where someone might be passing and get struck. So. That parking area is, deemed no parking. We are doing an educational period with folks where we will be patrolling down there, and if we find someone parked there, we're going to be putting these little flyers on the car to kind of explain why and what you need to do. Eventually, there will be enforcement. But we're trying to get voluntary compliance. Hopefully, people will understand the reason for it. There is two parking areas actually on the east side of a lot that holds a few cars, and then on just down the street a little bit on North Avenue, there's a huge parking area there that the city put in. Yes, it is a little bit further away than obviously parking right next to the field. I did some measurements on Google Earth, and it's roughly right around 300 meters. So not that far. But what folks need to know is, as for the parking on Sears Center Park, Sears Center Drive, safety is always going to outweigh the convenience. Now, we've had some comments on Facebook is like, well, grandparents can't walk that far. Okay, drive down there, drop them off. You go park, meet them back up. it's okay. You can pick them up there too. We kind of understand that a little bit, but the parking, the safety of the parking is paramount. The city just didn't make this decision arbitrarily. We studied it, and this is the best thing for the community to make sure that everybody is safe.
And they can find maps of this area on your Facebook page, and then it clearly draws it out.
Yeah, it does. It does. On the Facebook page, the city Facebook page, I believe it's on the Sierra Vista PD page as well. Shows in red the no parking area and explains on the flyer, that you can't park on that side of the street, on the north side of Sears Center Drive. And it also, gives you a little warning, that per city statute under this, your vehicle could be towed or you could get a ticket for up to $50.
All right, well, then make sure you go see the maps because the visual always helps. But when you get over there, look for those red sidewalks. That'll help.
Yep, that'll definitely help. Thanks, Gritty.
You bet, and thanks for coming and talking to us today. That's Scott Borgstedt with the Sierra Vista Police Department. First Watch on KWCD Country is brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative.
You've been listening to First Watch, brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative. Keep up to date. Follow the Cochise County Sheriff's Office on Facebook and tune in next Friday, 7 a.m. for First Watch right here on KWCD.